What careers or jobs most attract psychopaths? There's been a study on this. It included corporate executives but also surgeons and chefs, both of whose work tends not to require not much actual socialization, or at least only with subordinates, not customers who have to be greeted pleasantly. Little-known field that is rife with psychopathy: public accounting. Homeowners Association president. Sales. It's known that psychopaths excel in sales because they do whatever they can to get ahead. Learned about it in psych in my undergrad and it always stuck with me. Edit. I've worked sales jobs myself, so I'm not judging anyone at all. I am just relaying information I recalled from my undergrad. John Ronson wrote a fantastic book, The Psychopath Test. He interviewed people who created and used the test, as well as many psychopaths. Psychopaths in his book ranged from imprisoned murderers to very wealthy CEOs. I find those often in HR are not people that should be in our fucking car sales. Not sure if the job attracts them or makes normal people that way, but it's full of them. I was a carny. I don't know which came first, the drugs or psychotic behavior, but I witnessed both in bulk. Paparazzi. I think statistically it's surgeons and CEOs. Reddit mods. Banking. The higher you advance in the hierarchy, the less empathy you have. Exponentially. Serial killers seem to like positions of authority but almost always have sexual assault battery priors, so they often end up as rent-a-cops and security guards. Pizzeria security. Lawyers, CEOs, surgeons and civil servants from what I've read have some of the higher rates. Most clinical psychopaths over 30 on the checklist are actually so impulsive and out of control that they either don't have jobs because they're in prison right now, or they bounce from job to job either quitting or getting fired fast. A prominent trait of psychopathy is actually an inability to hold down jobs for long periods of time. People might say, surgeons, or CEOs. That's * psychopathic traits * not full-blown psychopaths. One career that doesn't immediately come to mind but makes a ton of sense when you think about it is charity worker, especially if you get to management. What do psychopaths want? To get away with abusing power over others. What better way to do that than to surround yourself with powerless people who desperately need whatever the charity is providing, and typical charity workers that are extremely helpful, caring people who are most inclined to want to see the good in others. I have a friend with PTSD from being abused by his boss and being forced to witness his boss abuse the people who needed the charity while working at a non-profit, and his therapist told him his story is surprisingly common. Construction. As a construction worker, I have met literally the worst human beings I've ever met while in the trades. One guy, because I quit working for a shitty company, legit said he should rape me. And #X200B. Like, okay bud. Fucking weirdo. Sex traffickers. I don't know that it attracts psychopaths, but psychopaths make excellent first responders and they're far less likely to freak the fuck out in an emergency or get stuck helping the one who screams loudest. Psychopaths aren't necessarily maladjusted, in theory. We generally only hear about what info we get from studying in jails. So. Unemployment Department phone employee. Dictator, apparently. Top 10 jobs that attract psychopaths. 1. CEO. 2. Lawyer. 3. Media, TV, radio. 4. Salesperson. 5. Surgeon. 6. Journalist. 7. Police officer. 8. Clergy person. 9. Chef. 10. Civil servant. Crossing guards, always telling you what to do and what not to do and when to do it. The fucking entitlement these people have. Blood spatter analyst. Edit. Spelling. Line cooks. I did research on the prevalence of psychopathy in corporate environments. The average rate of psychopathy in the general population is 1 in 100. The rate of psychopathy amongst high-tier corporate officers is 1 in 10. Government management, and I'm not talking about politicians. I'm talking about your department managers and execs. I've worked for some insane people. IDK if this is true, but I believe the chances of running into a total psycho go up along with the chain of command. The higher up the chain you go, the more likely you'll find a psychopath. Because having no remorse is beneficial to the position. Any job where they have a powerful position and a lot of variety, because psychopaths seek power over people and can be easily bored, for example lawyers or politicians. Politics. According to the book, The Psychopath Next Door. 1. CEO 2. Lawyer 3. Media, TV, radio, 4. Salesperson 5. Surgeon 6. Journalist 7. Police officer 8. Clergy person. No bankers? Man, these guys always slip under the radar. If you ever wonder why the US government and economy is a cruel, rigged clusterfuck, it's bankers. They're major shareholders in every public company and major creditors to the rest. Every major political decision goes through them. They are the system. Positions in evangelical Christian leadership. Was raised evangelical. The hypocrisy, did you really just do that? Moments, and internecine spats were surreal. Probably slaughterhouse workers, the ones who don't find it traumatic. On a serious note, clinical psychopathy is actually very beneficial for high-stress, high-stakes jobs like surgeons, high-level politicians, combatants, basically anyone that has to make life or death decisions for strangers. Psychopaths have a bad reputation because stories of psychopathic murderers are way more sensational than stories of psychopathic surgeons, and convicted criminals get psychoanalyzed more frequently than non-criminals. I read a great book about the benefits of psychopathy, but I can't remember the title and I'm gonna go eat some pizza. I'll let you know when I find it because I want to read it again now, lol. Nurses. I don't know why, but nurses. Nurses. I am not sure if it's because people just want the pay or what, but nurses can be so evil. Like the ones beating on old people and shit. Dentists. Lawyers. PE teachers. Tanning salon owners. The police, military. Anyone gives people a sense of power, authority. Instagram influencers. ITT, every job. Sales. Sales. Nice try CIA, FBI catching me won't be that easy, smiley face. No one on here knows what a psychopath is. There's a documentary on this by CBC. It discusses CEO and politician to be among the top jobs that attract them. Insurance claim officers. My mum used to work closely with these people, and oh man, the shit some of them would tell her in confidence regarding clients was repulsive. One that really stood out was an earthquake damage claims officer who outright enjoyed denying people compensation for their damaged homes and possessions. Mum could tell he thrived off the control he held over these poor people looking for help. He must have ruined dozens of lives throughout our city's earthquake recovery. I'm going into the aerospace industry as an engineer soon, and I feel like a lot of those engineers who work for defense companies building weapons that kill people are just different. I've had a number of interviews with defense industry people, and every time the interviewer puts me off with the ways they describe their work building bombs and missiles and shit that definitely blow up human beings. Maybe it's the way they always frame it as, supporting the warfighter, and how their products are, innovative kill chain technologies, and shit. I would bet money that the defense industry has a measurably higher rate of psychopaths. Overseas military contractors. I have worked with people that I swear had bodies in their basements or people tied up down there. I guarantee you some of the people I work with in IT have at least 3 to 4 bodies buried under their cellar. I've heard it's pretty bad among chefs. I've only worked in a couple of kitchens. But I totally buy it. It's a high-stress situation where screaming at employees seems to be a totally normal thing. Psychopaths usually have a hard time holding a job due to a lack of empathy and inability to alter their behavior or dial it back enough to keep one. They seek out positions that allow or encourage direct, physical harm towards others, or where such acts can be routinely hidden. Corrections jobs allowing direct contact with inmates, law enforcement, dedicated combat jobs in the military, the medical field, animal control. All necessary jobs where blood and death are routine. Most people mistakenly equate psychopathy with sociopathy. A successful sociopath can be looked at as a psychopath with more control. They don't directly harm others but harness their lack of empathy. Their harm is less immediately physical and more socially and economically oriented. Corporate executives, politicians, lawyers and the like. All necessary jobs where not giving a damn about others is a valuable attribute. White ladies running non-profits. Statistically, CEOs and business owners have the highest change of having antisocial personality disorder. Redditor. Host of The Apprentice? I think it's borne out in research that CEOs, politicians, and other leadership positions in which you can affect the lives of many, but, you mean other than that? Restaurant owners, in my experience. Space mercenary. You might not hate him, but your grandchildren's grandchildren will. Military. I'm not being political. Hear me out. We all want to think of psychopaths and sociopaths as clever people that want to do others harm. The truth is that there are plenty of them that just don't work well with others. Most aren't on a killing spree, but don't feel the need to follow social norms. This means they can be prone to move from job to job and not be diagnosed due to parents thinking they'll just grow out of it. The military will take a lot more than you would imagine. If you aren't completely qualified, they'll give you a waiver for most things. You don't really have an interview so much as just checking if you are physically qualified. Once in, it's actually not easy to get fired. The paperwork takes about a year and you are still paid. I have found so many people in uniform that looked hopeless if not for the safety net of the job. I wouldn't trust them with a stapler. Not because they would effectively kill people with it, but because they might accidentally staple their head to their ass. Train people, man. Train workers are very unique. I work in the entertainment industry and frequently work on locomotive-based events. I've worked with both public and private railroads across the U.S., and have found common characteristics with nearly every train worker I've come across. Narcissism, homophobia, racism, sexism, impulsive tendencies, need for power, difficulty controlling their anger, short fuses. In many cases, downright sadistic. It sometimes feels like they are looking for an opportunity to freak out on people to assert authority and masculinity. Of course, there are exceptions to this trend, but it's pretty rare, in my experience. Psychopath here. I suffer from antisocial personality disorder. I actually live a pretty normal life for the most part. Previously I've worked in hospitality as an events manager and bar and restaurant manager. I now do a job where I am alone 99% of the time and truth be told it's much better for me. Not that I had any issues before but faking it every day and lying to people becomes tiring sometimes. No one ever found out I was mentally ill, but pretty much every interaction I had as an employee-customer relationship and even my fellow staff was faked. Software engineers apparently. People who euthanize healthy animals? Not veterinarians, but like people who work in animal shelters. It seems like jobs where you're put in a position of power over a lot of other people, generally attract the worst kind of people. Like, police, judges, our representatives, security etc. Real estate, politics, and finance. Politicians. CEO. It has been proven in studies. Independent film producers.